Discover College Soccer podcast is sponsored by VIO. VIO is the #1 AI camera solution helping players capture college recruitment videos. Check out their new starter and family options by clicking on the link in the description or visit Discover College Soccer to learn more. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Joe from East Central College in Missouri. Welcome, Coach.
Hello.
Well, appreciate you being here. You are both the men's and the women's coach there at the two-year program. I think this fall will be your second year at the helm. So, uh, i- I've talked to a couple junior colleges recently. I know it's harder because you're recruiting twice as much as everybody else, right? Reloading the team. We're talking end of July, so you're getting ready for preseason and whatnot. One question that it's always fun to ask this time of year is are are you actually even done with the class of 23 recruiting? Do you have everybody, or is there still somebody you're trying to sneak in here in those last few weeks?
Yeah, no, fortunately for myself, on the men's side, we are done. We hit our number. Inevitably, someone might not show up, but we're built to handle that. I'm very happy with the class that's coming in. Little bit of boost, obviously, that comes with winning the previous season. So we were able to get some guys in very early that were more regionally or local than previous years. And that was a boost. On the women's side, of course, the nature of the game and where we're at being going into our fourth year, and the talent level that's here in our area, Union, Missouri. We've had the player of the year in the A10 at St. Louis University come from this area. So there's a lot of very talented female players in this area. So we're still definitely looking. And last year we actually picked up one or two a little bit in the season that wasn't sure they wanted to play, that were talented players from the area that came out a little later in the season. So good on the men. Still have room on the women's side.
Okay. Well, for that recruiting, I mean, you kind of mentioned the regional area there. So, what are the events or places you like to go to really do that recruiting on both sides?
Sure. Lucky enough to have great clubs in the area. Lufuse, Scott Gallagher, Missouri Rush, and there's always new clubs popping up here and there, right? That are kind of in that realm where they're almost operating as feeder clubs to these bigger clubs. So there's a lot of showcases, a lot of things that these clubs promote. They do a very good job of making the players available to the college coaches in the area. And then there's the high school games. There really is just in Missouri a very high level of talent, whether it is club or whether it is high school. So my assistant here, his wife is the head coach at Borgia. And being at St. Louis is, as you know, and I'm sure this is true everywhere, is soccer community is small. It seems larger than it is, but it's small. So those relationships are important. Word of mouth is the best recruiting tool you can have, and we rely a lot on that. But to go out and be able to watch good level high school men and women's soccer here in St. Louis and the surrounding areas is fantastic.
Okay. Do you guys run any ID clinics, or do you or your staff work any ID clinics as part of your recruiting process?
So unfortunately, last year when I came in, it was very late in the year with the previous head coach, one of my best friends, Martin Clays, moving over to Scott Gallagher, and so we weren't able to run something last year, and so we lost a little bit of the momentum on our camps. We had a couple of camps this summer that unfortunately we did have to decide to shut them down based on numbers, but this year was guys that we recruited, girls that we recruited, playing throughout the summer with the USYS, with ECNL. There wasn't a lack of opportunity camp wise or playing wise for these kids. So that's the biggest thing on my end is if they're not coming to us for a camp, that they're still out there and have opportunity to get on the ball in the summer. And so it's hard to be upset when they're going and playing for national champions and traveling states. And so it was a little harder to get the numbers this year, but we will ramp them back up again next year in the summer, and we'll hope we'll have a better turnout.
Okay. Well, how about international recruiting? Does that come into play on either the men's or women's side or both?
Absolutely. We're fortunate enough this year that We are bringing in two returners on the women's side, international, and four new internationals coming in. We're in a position where we don't have as pardon me, as a Division two junior college program, we don't have on campus housing, and so that can be difficult, especially with the environment that we're in, where rentals are hard to come by. From what I understand, across the country, we're constantly growing in this area. So there's some new apartment complexes that have been put up. We've developed relationships with them to waive the proof of employment on the international kids. That was always a giant hurdle. So now we have the availability to work with this company, and ELS is the company name. I'm sure they would love the shout out. But they've been a pleasure to work with, and we've had the availability now to bring in more internationals. On the men's side, we do have a heavy international class coming in. Due to COVID, we moved on quite a number of people. So we're bringing in roughly 24 new men's players. All but about 9 of them are international players. Some are transfers, some are brand new. So some have had the experience of at least coming over, playing, and having gone through that pathway of coming to America. Some, this will be their first time doing it. So first and foremost, we always want to make sure they get in and get settled, and then we get right to settling and working on the football.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned being a Division two junior college program. So can you give me a little bit better idea of what I'm not holding you to hard numbers here, but just give me an overall financial picture of what it looks like for an average player coming in with, is there athletic money, academic money, total cost, that kind of thing?
Sure, we are lucky. The school has a um, good idea of what the athletics brings to the school, and the marketing that does for the school, and so they back us quite well. We are well funded on the scholarship side. Obviously, we're hold to 24 offers, so we move that money around quite a bit. Obviously, also in Missouri and other states, you have the A+ style programs. So a lot of our kids come in, if they're local, they come in, and the university or the schooling is free because they've met certain academic attendance and charity or volunteer work in their high school studies. And so on the women's side, where we have much a larger group that comes in, they're covered on that. So we can spend a lot more internationally recruiting and make those numbers fit. It's very much the same on the men's and the women's side. We're at about 14 scholarships on each side. A full obviously covers academic, but not housing, being a Division two program. We estimate housing and food and insurance, all these things, to be comfortably a budget of about $6,500 would be your out-of-pocket costs. And then based on scholarship money, full is obviously zero academic, that covers books and everything but fees, your lab fees and these different things, and these internet courses are the online courses and things like that. Well, definitely you'll take the brunt of those fees, but they're small and they're very manageable. A half, you're looking somewhere around 8,500, and that includes what we say in that 6,500 for budgeting with housing and food and everything. And then last, on the smaller scholarship side, usually around 10K or so. That's really typically the most that we see people pay, because we do a good job of getting enough locals in to then fill out the roster with the internationals. So 10 is typically the max, and on the women's side, it's usually no more than that 6,500 out of pocket, because of the availability to have the more local players come in.
Oh, sounds fantastic. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school other than the financial side. You've been there for a couple of years now as assistant first, then head. So what are some of the great things that you found out about the school? Some things that you'd like to share that maybe aren't easily going to be found on the website?
Sure. The first time I pulled in, a number of years ago, 2021, coming off Highway 44 and coming down 50, I had almost some nostalgia. I went to Truman State University, and I hit the sign that said "Welcome to Union," and it had 10,000, population 10,000 on it, and it reminded me of pulling into Kirksville for the first time. So one of the things that you're probably not going to find on the website is it's a very warm community. It's small, everybody knows each other, but we're not too far from Washington. That is, 15 minutes down the road, which is just blowing up. It's budding with life, and homes down on the landing, they call it over there, with $1 million homes. And but the community is very warm, it's very strong, and so you get a real sense of pride for the area. The school academically is strong. We've got very good teachers, we've got very good programs, whether it's the nursing program that's out here. I have a player that last year was enrolled in the welding program, and got a certificate. There's the EMT programs out here. So there's a lot of availability that I didn't know before I was at a junior college, that I just didn't know all of the benefits, all of the A+ with the free schooling, and everything that was really available to you. And then, like I said, the coursework. One of the things we like to use in our recruiting talk is we don't go to school on Fridays. The schedule is Monday through Thursday, and kids hear that and they're like, "Oh, I get Fridays off." I'm like, "Well, we train, but yeah, it's not a day off, but yeah, you get a little bit more time." And then, like anywhere else, the population numbers to the faculty are very good, so you get a lot of support. Where you can go to some of these bigger institutions and you feel like a number. Here, they know your name. That's good and bad. They know when you're not in class, and they know when you are. So it's got its pluses and minuses, if you will.
Sure. Well, you mentioned not having Fridays class, which is great, I'm sure, for the students, but having training. So let's fast forward. Let's say we're in the middle of October. What would a typical week look like for one of your players in terms of when is class, when are meals, practices, what the game cadence looks like? Give me a week snapshot.
Sure. We're very lucky, as I said, that the school backs us. So we travel everything we do with coach buses. We're not packed into vans. It's a very nice situation. So typical week, we typically play Wednesdays and Saturdays for the most part. That would be a typical week. So we'll use that as an example. Monday, come in off the weekend. If we've played a Saturday, then we hold these guys accountable to some self accountability, if you will. So Sunday would be probably a recovery day. We ask for 45 minutes of work, 15 minutes on a bike or treadmill, 15-minute stretch, 15-minute bike treadmill, 15-minute stretch, 45 minutes of work. If the gym is usually open, or the new apartment complex has a gym, so there's availability for these guys to have a place to do that. Monday, come back in, go to class, typically 8 to around noon, 12:30. The guys will get lunch. Girls will get lunch. Girls will train at 1, 1 till typically 3. And then the men will start 3:30 and go to 5. It gives me a nice little break in between to collect my thoughts on kind of code switching from one team to the other. We'll go Tuesday again, a lighter session, because we'll play on Wednesday. So typically we'll only go for about an hour. And we'll walk through, if it's an opponent we know enough about, maybe we do 20 minutes of film, and then go down to the pitch and work on some of the things we talked about in film, work on some pieces that maybe we've identified from a previous game, whether it's maybe not dropping or stepping early enough in the back line. Maybe it's something as simple as restarts. Are we doing them appropriate timing? So we'll just find details that we can pick up on, that we can be sharper on. Wednesday, if we're away, we'll have our departure time. We'll get together, and we'll jump on the bus and head out to the game. We typically like to get to the games about an hour and a half early, and then spend that first half an hour to 45 minutes just collecting ourselves. And then about 30 minutes before the game, we'll really kick into the full warm up. And that gives us time. The men will then typically they'll either come watch the game, because we tend to play back to back, women then men. And men will have lunch. They'll either eat it on the bus. If it's October, it's nice and cool, they can eat it outside. And then we'll travel home. Thursday we'll do another recovery session. Friday we'll probably have a mid kind of day on the periodization style of training, because we can't go too light. We can't go recovery then light with maybe a game on Saturday. So that's kind of on the football side. On the school side, we've got an awesome program here called Food for Falcons, where the students can swipe their student ID card and get lunch. So when the women train at 1, the men train at 3:30. So typically what we ask is the men eat, you get your free lunch. It's between 10 and 1:30, I believe, when you can pick up that free lunch. And then we ask the men to go do study hall. So they'll go out there. We require a number of study hall hours during the week. And I always say, guys, the rest of your week will be way more enjoyable if you get your homework done early, right? If you truly want that free Friday outside of training, don't spend it. Get your homework done during the week, and then you kind of really have your Friday to decompress and get ready for Saturday's game. And then come Sunday when you're recovering, you're free. You can actually just focus on your mental health, because it is a busy schedule, and school and football is a lot to deal with, amongst all of the other things that college kids deal with.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the teams. We talked about recruiting earlier, but is there a roster size for each team that you're trying to hit that you find is ideal?
I do. 28 to 30 on the men's side is very manageable. Anything over that, I believe you start to at our level start to lose players. You start to lose interest, and so that's my job to keep them interested. But that 28 number, we're fortunate this year. I went out and I recruited 4 goalkeepers on the men's side, for competition purposes and for training purposes. The guys, I kind of picked that up from time I spent at the USL with the St. Louis Lions. Shout out to Tony Glavin there as well. But having that availability where you don't have to stick a random player in goal, or I don't have to go in goal, and every team feels that they're not being neglected in some sense because they're 5 aside or 6 aside or 8 aside doesn't have a goalie. And so I went 4 goalies, and so that means I have 24 outfield players for this upcoming season, which is very healthy. We're one of the deepest. This is one of the deepest teams I've seen in a number of years, from a standpoint. And then on the women's side, 18 to 20 is ideal for me. A little harder to hit right now. We're at about 16 going in, so we're not far off the number. But we've built this program, Martin Clays and myself, from zero. As far as player recruitment went, those first years we were sitting at 11, 12 players some games, and now to come in comfortably into a season at 16, a small pat on the back to myself there, and the work that Martin Clays put in it, and the school. The school, like I said, continues to back us and offer these scholarships. And when we came to them with the idea of internationals on the women's side, they said, all right, we'll do it. If we can figure it out, we'll do it. And so they've been very helpful in the process.
Oh, that's good. Well, you mentioned having an assistant earlier. What does the overall staff situation look like, both from a coaching perspective, and is there athletic department support staff, trainers, strength and conditioning, anything like that as well?
Yeah, we have a trainer. We use Athletico as our training, so we have a contract with them. Hope just joined us. She actually played high level college volleyball. She's originally from Hawaii, so she's coming in as her first year, new athletic trainer. But our training staff over the years has always been excellent. Whether it was a couple years ago, a woman named B who moved on to Missouri Baptist, and then Cindy, who is one of the managers at Athletico, filled in last year due to staffing shortages in that part, and she is excellent. She kept us on the field. She was really great with our players, which cannot be stressed enough on my end how important that side of everything is, that recovery side, having a strong athletic training staff. So from the athletic department standpoint, Jay Meerhoff, our athletic director, is fantastic. He is a soccer guy through and through. He loves the sport. He played himself, and so it's always great to have the athletic director in your corner. And then the school supports us as well from a direct staff. It's myself. Alex Severino has joined us. He joined us in the spring. He's from he lives over in Borgia with his wife, where I mentioned Mackenzie is the head women's coach over at Borgia High School. And then this year, we're lucky enough to have one of our former players, who's a couple of years removed from the program. Her name's Sierra Pittman, is going to come out and work with us a little bit. She's currently employed at First Form. And so she's going to come out and work with the girls, get the girls comfortable in the gym. Where that's one of the things I think that that's been tough in the past, difficult in the past, is getting them comfortable in the gym, not scared to be in there, because the guys have no problem walking in. But if for some people, it's easy to forget that when you walk into a gym, it can be intimidating, not knowing how to do the equipment, not knowing what equipment to use for what. So that is a part of the program that we're ramping up. We're lucky enough that another coach of mine gave me a 10-week preseason training program that he had a sports performance coach make for him a couple of years back. He was formerly in our conference. He is no longer. So he was like, I can share this now with you, which is great. So we are always looking for volunteer assistants that want to come out and sharpen their resumes, or who are maybe older and retired and got a good CV in the game and want to come and help out. I have no ego in this. Best idea wins. And I'm happy to share the praises. I know that typically the negatives come down on me, and I'm okay with that. That's signing up for the job. But without being too much of a cliche, it takes a village, and so we're always welcoming to those that want to help in any way possible. Even guys that want to come out and just shoot photos and photography, or want to help with social media, and help with operations and those kind of things. We're actually currently looking for someone, a student that we can offer an opportunity to get an internship, get some credits, and help out on the operation side with social media and photos and these kind of different things.
Okay, great. Well, how about personally? Well, train the guns on you now for this one, but how would you describe, your style of coaching and the style of play you're looking to implement?
Sure. I'm extremely lucky. Martin, an A licensed coach who I've known since college, came over from Scotland. So he knew the recruiting process as far as internationals go. So I trained under Martin for that year and a half as his assistant. And then I've also, back in the day, coached for Scott Gallagher, where I was under Dave Beck, another very good coach who was an assistant at SLU, is now over at St. Louis Development Academy. And then Kevin Stoll and Kevin Kalish out at St. Louis University. I grew up with the two of them. So I've had excellent mentors in this. I'm a big culture guy. I don't mind doing the hard work on the front end. I believe that players, it's not my first and not the first priority on my list to develop you. We're in the college game. It's to come in, get you to play as a team, create the best culture, get the tactics in front of you, and see who can adapt the quickest and the fastest. That's quite literally my coaching style. I thoroughly enjoy the puzzle aspect of the game. And I like to go out there and look at every detail. I come from a marketing background, so one of the things I always say is perfection is the enemy of progress. Let's just work harder every day. Let's see what we can do to build the team up, because it's going to take an entire team effort. It's going to take the next guy up pushing the guy that's there, and the guy behind the next guy up, it's going to take him pushing. So competition within the team is healthy, but it is about a competition versus combativeness, if you will. It's getting everybody to buy into the program.
For sure. Well, we've covered a lot of different areas, but I always like to end these the same way. And that's, if you had one piece of advice, one nugget of information that you wish every parent, player, family going through the college soccer recruiting process would know, what would that be?
Persistence is key. We as coaches get a lot of emails, we get a lot of phone calls, we go to a lot of games. We're seeing a lot of kids. Research your programs, and then if you are dead set on a certain program, learn everything you can about it, and then be persistent with that coach. The best thing you can do is get in front of that coach. So emailing where you're going to be, where you're playing, finding out if that coach is going to be there, and then attending ID camps. Get in front of that coach. That is my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, for sure. Couldn't agree more. Well, Coach, wish you the best of luck with both teams this fall, and we'll check back in. Hopefully, you're hanging a conference banner this time next year. All right.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's Matt from Discover College Soccer. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, whether that's on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I also wanted to let you know about the Discover College Soccer Study Table. This is our brand new online portal that is complete with a 14-part online course giving you all of the ins and outs of the college soccer recruiting process. There's also a wealth of resources such as checklists, templates. There's the spreadsheets that have every soccer program in the country, along with their coaches, their contact information, their social media information, some basic stats about the school, and more. Plus, there's an online community where you can ask your questions, share your wins, your losses, any questions that you may have around the college soccer recruiting process. It's all there at the Discover College Soccer study table that you can find at discovercollegesoccer.com/study table, and hopefully we will see you there.